Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council Public Services Committee meeting. The meeting will start in 60 seconds.
Good evening. Welcome to the Public Service Committee. It is Tuesday, May 12th. Call this meeting to order and need review and approval of minutes.
So moved, Erpenbach.
Second, Kylie.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right. First off, we have proposed plumbing rebate changes on the agenda today. And I'd like Mr. Carter to come up and introduce a new employee. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Council Chair and Councilors. This is going to be presented to you today by Darren Fries and Jessica Lanchin. Darren Fries, this water program coordinator, was a new position that we requested for 2014. Really has three primary functions. First of which is to manage our tower leases on the top of all the water towers, the series of antennas that we lease out that space. Darren manages that. We also have a very important program to actually have backflow prevention to prevent contamination in our water system. And last, plumbing rebates. And Darren's really dug into this and looked at what have been the results and what are the opportunities to go forward. And so without further ado, we'll bring up Darren Fries, our water program coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome, Darren.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. In Sioux Falls, we do have a plumbing rebate program. We actually have a conservation program. Our conservation program has been going since 2003. We've made a lot of great strides. I've been tasked with trying to find where we've been, where we're going, where we currently are. So we have some information. We'll start off telling you where we've been and what our accomplishments are, and then we have something we'd like to move forward with that we'll get to at the end. This slide is a lot of information in a little bit of area. It basically goes through and tells you the collaborated efforts of a lot of skilled, a lot of talented individuals that were driving this conservation machine before I came on board. I've been just driving the machine for about a year, and now it's time to do some maintenance. If we move to the next slide. At the top, you'll see the totals from the previous page. And what I really want to point out is the number of toilets that we have rebated versus the number of clothes washers that we have rebated and the associated gallons that we've saved from each component. And then I also want to point out the 3 billion gallons of water that we just broke at the end of 2014 that this program collectively has saved the citizens of Sioux Falls. And then a couple of the highlights. The City of Sioux Falls takes water conservation very seriously. We have invested $3 million plus into our rebate program. And what I want to point out also is it is 33% less expensive to conserve water than it is to find new sources. And new sources, you just put a well in the ground to the tune of $1 million plus per million gallons, and we're conserving water at a less expensive rate. Along with the 33% reduction, that does not include the infrastructure costs, meaning when you put a well in the ground, you have to pump the water to the treatment plant, you have to find chemicals to treat the water with, you have to pump it from the treatment facility. You may need a larger water main. You may need a reservoir or a water tower. None of that equipment is needed to conserve the water, and we're still doing it 33% less without that infrastructure put into that. every single day in Sioux Falls, and that's during the winter time. I'm not talking irrigation, I'm not talking anything else other than straight citizen use. We are pumping to the citizens of Sioux Falls 1 million gallons less today than we did back in 2003. So that's impressive. More impressive is, as Jessica touched on in her presentation, the city has grown by 33,000 people since then. And our per capita is right around that 90 gallons per person per day total use. So you multiply just a quick number of 30 times that 90, and you've got 2.7 million gallons of water that we're not pumping, we're not treating, we're not storing, added in to the fact that we're saving 1 million gallons on top of that. And that's not total for the week, for the month, that's every single day in Sioux Falls. We're pumping to the citizens about 3.7 million gallons less every day. So we've got a good conservation program. Every program, everything, every family, every whatever has its monster that you have to pull out once in a while and talk about. And unfortunately, for our program, that is the washing machine rebates. On the left-hand side, you can see back in 2003, the cost of the washers were $1,000, and we rebated at $125. In 2014, the cost of an average washing machine has dropped down to $700, but yet we're still rebating at $125 for a machine that has dropped in price. If we want to keep the ratios the same, rebate today what we rebated in 2003 when the plan was initiated, we would have to drop our rebate price down to $89 to make everything the way it was back in 2003. That's always a possibility, but we have more information to present to go a little farther than that, but we'll come back to this. I'll hit this on another slide. The original intent of the rebate program, specifically the washing machines, was to reduce the price of the purchase cost of a high-efficiency washing machine. We wanted to reduce the cost difference between a high-efficiency machine and a non-efficient machine, and we wanted to increase the number of high-efficiency machines purchased in Sioux Falls. We wanted these machines available, we wanted these machines less expensive, and we wanted to get them out there and save that water and put them in the hands of the constituents. As it works out, our program today versus yesterday, we wanted to reduce the purchase cost. The high-efficiency machines, when we implemented the program in 03, were $1,250 for a top-end model. Our rebate of $125 was 10% of that cost. So today, those same machines are $800. They've dropped significantly. The top-of-the-line models are no longer expensive because they conserve water. They are expensive because they are loaded with high capacity, steam clean. They've got a lot of bells and whistles that they didn't have. The technology's been around, just like eco cars, just like computer, just like everything. As it's around longer, it gets less expensive. The average cost of a rebated high-efficiency washer in 03 was $1,007, and that is, by our records, what was submitted and what we rebated for. And today that amount is $704. Just last week I crunched the first quarter of 2015 and it was $702. So we're right on track. We wanted to reduce the cost difference between high efficiency and non-efficient machines, thus close the gap, incentivize spending that extra money to get that extra water savings. The high efficiency machines ranged $550 more than the non-efficient machines. It was difficult to convince somebody to go out and spend an extra $550. The rebate was an incentive to close that gap to make them more inexpensive. Today at our local retailers, I was on the days that I was in doing the research, they are less than $100 apart for a non-efficient machine versus an efficient machine, and that $100 is actually closer together. It's less than our rebate of $125. We wanted to increase the number of high-efficiency machines purchased in Sioux Falls. We wanted to get them out there. Only 5 to 30% of the machines purchased in 2003 were high-efficient. Today, the non-efficient machines are really only sold to a particular group of people: auto mechanics, farmers, and construction workers. Their cost to replace their clothing that they can't get clean with less agitation and less water, they feel it's more economically feasible for them to use a little extra water to not have to replace their clothes all the time because they can get their clothes cleaner with the agitator-style machines. The majority of the washing machines available were non-high efficiency. Today, in the stores in Sioux Falls, we're averaging about 80% of the machines when you walk in are high efficiency. The ones that aren't are just sold for the niche groups, but the majority of the people who come in looking for a washer don't say, show me the high efficiency machines. They just walk over to them because they know that they're going to save resources and the price availability is there for them. And then number C, 4 to 5 machines replaced. Through my research in Sioux Falls, I've found that for every 10 that go out, 5 come back high efficient. So what that means is we don't rebate people a second time. We don't rebate them for something they've already been rebated for. But if you've owned your washer for 7 years and you didn't know about the rebate program when you bought your first one, they take your old one, high efficient, replace it with a high efficiency machine, and we rebate you because you haven't had one. What did we gain from our $125? And could we do an audit? We could. This was set up as an incentive. It was never set up as like the toilets were set up as you replace one. It was a retrofit. Washing machines were just an incentive, and they were never set up any differently. Regional plumbing rebates. In the research, trying to figure out where we should take this program and what I should do, I tried to stay local. I tried to find communities of the same size, same climate, and say, what are you doing? What are you doing that works? And unfortunately, the closest I found, one of them was Denver, who has eliminated their washing machine rebates. They ran it for 8 years, and we're on our 13th. Due to price reduction in high-efficiency machines, which we've talked about, increased utility rates, which we will talk about, and the high efficiency for high efficiency swap outs. They were finding too much spend money to replace the high efficiency machine with another high efficiency machine. They weren't getting their cost to conservation ratio out of it. Wichita, Kansas, they give $100. They started that in the last year or two after numerous years of drought. They were telling their citizens they needed to conserve water, and their citizens said, give us a tool, give us a way. Luckily for the citizens of Sioux Falls, we were a decade ahead of those people when we hit our dry spell, and we've been doing what they just proposed for over a decade. And where I want to go with this one too is just when I called around, I called Fargo, St. Cloud, Omaha, Lincoln, and Sioux City. That's where I started. I wanted to find areas local and same size. And in their opinion, at this time, it was not feasible for them to start a program with current washing machine pricing and the high availability of high efficiency machines. So what we have been doing and are still doing, they're finding it's not feasible to even start right now, much less do away with the program. Here's our utility rates. Back in 2003, if you were to get rid of your non-efficient machine and replace it with a high efficiency machine, you would save $21.60 in a calendar year. With our new rates under 2015, same scenario, you replace your non-efficient machine with a high efficient machine and you save $56.64. So in 2003, if we hadn't have given a rebate for washing machines, it would have taken you 69 months to get your money back for buying the high efficiency machine. So the $125 expedited that process. Anymore, if we don't rebate a customer for a high efficiency washing machine, they'll have their $125, we don't rebate them back in 27 months. $56.64 a month on top of the $300 they're saving because they didn't buy a machine when they were expensive and they've come down in price. So they get a double whammy. They get the increased utility savings along with the $300 reduction in purchase price. And here's what we call this, when we put this together, Jessica and I, we call this our money shot. This really paints a really good picture between the blue and the green. Blue is washing machines, green is toilets. Top left-hand slide is how many units we've rebated in the last 2 years. Blue is washing machines, green toilets. Down below that one is the amount rebated, how much money we have spent to rebate those particular items. And when you look at how far the blue is leading the green, and when you look at the top right-hand slide, that is gallons saved by those units. We have saved more gallons of water with our toilet at a third or even a quarter of their participation. It's 4 times more efficient to conserve the water with toilets than it is with washing machines. And the bottom right-hand side, when you figure out the 1 million gallons saved in a year and how much we spend, for every $20,867 we spend on rebates, we save 1 million gallons with washers. With toilets, we have to spend $4,805 to save that same 1 million gallons. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to verbally go back to the slide when I said we could take the rebate down to $89 to get 2014 or 15 prices to where they were in 2003 for the rebate. So if you have $125, you take it down to $89. And then to rival the toilets, to make the washing machine rebate comparable in water savings versus our money spent, we would have to lower the rebate to $20.56. Then if you take into consideration that half of our machines are already coming back efficient, thus reducing it by another 50%, we're gonna have to give $10 rebates for washing machines. And on our first slide, if you saw all of the effort that's been put in, all the people who rebate, all the people who track, all the people who spend their time and expertise putting these rebates in our citizens' hands, we would probably be going backwards in a big hurry, and I'd be standing up here 6 months going, justifying to you, why are you guys spending this kind of resources to send out $10 rebates for washing machines? Washers were never a retrofit. I want to make that clear. They were just an incentive. And we firmly believe, Jessica and I and the higher-ups through Public Works, that we have mined this conservation source of all of the cost-efficient water that we can. And our proposal, when we come to you in a week or two, is going to be, we would like to eliminate the washing machine rebate from ordinance. And we'd like to spend our money, Jessica touched on the toilets, public awareness. We've got a million other places and a bunch of ideas for places to spend the money and go with this rebate money, and if we think we could better invest this money. So we'll be looking for your support on that. Questions?
Thank you, Darren. Any questions from the council? Councilor Sagers?
Yes, you're focusing on how much we're saving money with the rebates, and, you know, I agree with you, but also, have you figured out how much savings has been brought about because of the higher water rates that we're charging the citizens? In other words, they don't want to pay as much, so they use less water.
So you're talking, yes, we have increased the rates, and then we have a tiered system. And by all means, if you follow the rate system, as the rate system has increased, you can see the demand in the summertime, the irrigation. You can see the usage of water come down accordingly with those rates. And when we went in 2008, we went to a permanent water schedule. We went to that, to stage 1, permanent year-round. That was put into place, and we'd learned our lesson earlier because we had gone to an odd-even schedule, so everybody said, well, I can only water every other day. I'm going to water all I can. Well, we talked to other communities, and I, in my research, have talked to other communities. Well, we went odd-even, and we're just using water like crazy. I said, raise up your rates and make people use more effectively what they're using instead of just throwing it where they want. They'll start paying attention to their bill, and they'll start paying attention to where their water goes. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the water rates have had something to do with this, yes.
Maybe the water rates being higher is more significant than the rebate program, or not?
No, because the rebates were in effect in 03, 04, 05. Before we really started hammering in on the rates, we were starting to see the benefit of this. Mark said, you know, I've been with the water division 20 years, and I worked at the water treatment plant in 2002. And we pumped out 52 million gallons of water one night. And we turned on a high service pump, and our pumpage went down because we were trying to force so much out the door. And the next summer, it was hot, it was dry, we didn't see the demand. The next summer, and every summer since, our plant pumpage, even in the summertime, starts going down because people are starting to use, year-round, they're starting to use the conservation tools that we've given them, along with, in the summertime, they're paying more attention. But the water savings that we're talking about, Councilor, the 3.7 million per day, some of that happened before we started increasing the rates.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor
Well,
Kiley?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I apologize for stealing some of your thunder earlier by letting out, because the information had been leaked.
I'll let it slide this
earlier.
time.
The leak is sitting out there.
You're okay this time.
But I used it prematurely there. But what I did not mention is that's every single day that we're treating 1 million gallons less.
Our winter
every
pumpage.
single day, despite the fact that our population has increased 33,000.
That is absolutely correct. That is wintertime pumpage that is on a meter. We meter what we treat and what we pump to the general public and what they take in a 24-hour period. and it is 1 million gallons less on average throughout the wintertime. No irrigation, no nothing. That is 1 million gallons less every single day.
And that's a result of our conservation programs that we have
Yes, whether it be
initiated.
rebates, whether it be conservation items, whether it be public awareness, whether it be rates, all of those combined into the program, yes, I would say are a direct result of the
And
program.
I'd like to, on top of that, I'd like to point out what you've already covered, that it is 33% less expensive to conserve water than to find new sources. And we know that very well from our Lewis and Clark experiences, the cost that's factored into bringing in new water. And I would imagine, and I guess I would agree with you with the proposed ordinance changes with eliminating the washing machine rebate program and focusing on the rebate, continued rebate of the toilets. And I would imagine the difference why we saw many more washers participating in that program than toilets. Number one, a toilet kind of with just minor maintenance that lasts forever. Maybe replace the flapper here or float here, and then it can go on indefinitely. But the water conservation, you're losing that over the time.
But I will tell you that a toilet replaced, singular toilet, in the average family, average home in the United States will save $130 a year in utility costs in Sioux Falls. So instead of $56.64, you get $130. You get
Especially
more
if
than
it's
two
that-
times by replacing a 3.5 with a 1.6.
Especially if it's that leaky toilet with
Especially
the
if it's
bad
that
flapper and
leaky
it's
toilet.
constantly
Absolutely.
running. And I can speak to how easy it is to change those because I have changed them frequently. And it's just, especially during a remodeling project when it was a household of 5 and we had 1 bathroom and the bathroom was remodeled. That was every morning, pick it up, every night, put it back. And unfortunately, a remodel project involves plumbing, electrical, flooring, drywall, taping, texturing, painting. This is going on for over a week. Yeah, I was hoping for an Olympic event in toilet setting because I was going to participate, but it is a very simple, my point is, it's a very simple thing to do. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. Chairperson Erickson could do it, I'm sure.
I don't know about that. Any other questions or anybody in the audience?
Your rental properties.
Yeah, well. Any other questions or any comments? I would just like to thank you for this. I would agree. I would ask that the committee support that this change just come through first reading through the council. If you
Wonderful.
go ahead and put it through.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I think that your presentation is very great and done, and would just ask the council to support that decision. Anything else? Anybody? Any open discussion? Did you have anything else, Darren? I'm sorry, before we move to open discussion.
No, I think we touched on everything, hit all the high points, and, well, most of them. So, no, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Open discussion. Anybody have any open discussion or topics that they would like to bring to public services? We will have a meeting. I will say we will have a meeting. Mike Cooper has been invited to come back next month for a follow-up with the access roads into subdivisions and developments, as he was here a couple months ago and had promised to follow up with some of the other developments we had given him. So if there's nothing else, I will adjourn us. Thank you.